I am Becky Choi, your postpartum corrective exercise specialist. I'm also a registered holistic nutritionist. How do you know if you have a tight or loose pelvic floor? How do you know if you have a tight or loose pelvic floor? And what does it have to do with healing your diastasis recti? The second thing I wanted to talk about is bloating. Bloating, how your stomach looks more pregnant by the afternoon, even after drinking a big glass of water, you look like you are 3-4 months pregnant already. So bloating, but also I talked about a lot on nutrition or food related bloating, but not so much on the bloating from non-food relating things. So I wanted to talk about that part and how that is relating to diastasis. And lastly would be dry brushing technique. So a few days ago, I shared a post on my Instagram about dry brushing the loose skin on my tummy using a dry brush, and you guys went crazy commenting on like how does it work, what do you do, how many times, and exactly the technique on brushing it. So I wanted to go over on that as well. You need to know if you have a tight or loose pelvic floor or loose pelvic floor. And what is pelvic floor, right? So when I first heard that term pelvic floor, like what floor, like what floor are we on? I did not understand what pelvic floor really meant. Like I was too interested in science or biology type of things. Simple terms, maybe I'm laughing at myself now and maybe you're laughing at me but I had no idea what pelvic floor was when I first heard that term. So like what floor are we on? No, it's the pelvic floor that is down there, right? Where you go poo, go pee. That is the area where you pass the baby if you had a vaginal birth, or if you had tears down there. I had like a 2nd or 3rd degree tears when I gave birth to my son. It was painful. So that's your pelvic floor. Now, some people would have a tight pelvic floor and some people would have a loose pelvic floor, or you're in the middle, normal tone. And that's what we really want, normal tone. And so another word for that is a hypotonic and hypertonic pelvic floor. Why do we need to know about this, right? Why do we need to know about the pelvic floor tone? Because when we are healing our diastasis recti, we cannot neglect the fact that there is a pelvic floor, because our pelvic floor, right, it's so close to our core, they work together. Your diaphragm is here, belly, right, this is where you get the stomach, and then the pelvic floor down here. So they have to work together, inhale and exhale. So when you don't have a functional pelvic floor, and when I meant non-functional, meaning, let's say incontinence, leaking, urine leaking is one of the most common things with a non-functioning or poor functioning pelvic floor. Now, with incontinence, leaking, it's interesting. You might be thinking, I'm leaking because it should be loose down there, right? Because the flow of the urine just comes out, it could be just very loose down there. So you might be thinking you're leaking, you have a loose pelvic floor, but no, it's not always the case. You could have a tight pelvic floor even if you're leaking. So there are stress incontinence, there are psychological trigger incontinence. So we need to find out what are the symptoms, and I want to share with you the symptoms. So then if you're not sure whether you have a tight or loose pelvic floor, this is it. So now let's start with the loose pelvic floor. With a loose pelvic floor, it's likely that you had a vaginal birth, and also maybe you have some tears down there. Maybe the birth was assisted, and then maybe like they did some suction to have the baby to come out, but you also feel pressure down there, like there's some heaviness down there, feeling there's something kind of pressing down, and you always feel the urge of going to the bathroom. And then when another thing that would be very obvious would be like when you're inserting a tampon, it doesn't stick. Like it doesn't stay inside, it comes out. So that is a very obvious symptom. Those are the symptoms. You can have 1 or 2 or 3, right? Those are the combination of symptoms to have a loose pelvic floor. And that can include leaking, right? You might be leaking without knowing, leaking with impact, like when you're jumping, when you are doing jumping jack or trampoline or running, you feel the leak. Now, With a loose pelvic floor, we need to work differently from a tight pelvic floor. So now that you know the loose pelvic floor, give me a thumb up if you know you have a loose pelvic floor. I would like to know so that maybe I can give you more targeted exercises on that. We have to understand what that is in order for you to heal the diastasis recti. Now, what about the tight pelvic floor? With a tight pelvic floor, one of the symptoms, so if you had a loose pelvic floor, likely you had a vaginal birth. With a tight pelvic floor, you likely had a C-section. Why? Because the baby never went through the birth canal. So like down there is never stretched. It never made room for the baby. So from pregnancy, it shuts tight, right? Down there. It's down there shut tight to make sure the baby is up here, right? It doesn't just come out, right? So it's always shut tight. And now if the baby never came out through here, through the birth canal, right? They had a C-section to bring the baby out, right? Then this part, for some people, continue to be quite tight. And after pregnancy, you're sitting a lot, you're breastfeeding the baby, you're not moving much. It continues, it just doesn't want it to release and be a normal tone anymore. It continues to be tight without knowing. You know, some people, like, they have a mum butt, right? You know, the butt is flat, and so they're gripping without knowing, like gripping the bum without knowing. If you look at the mirror and you see the bum, like normally you would have a normal tone, but if you're gripping your bum, you might look like this, like it's like flat down here, right? And so this way you're always gripping the bum. And so when you're gripping the bum, you're actually gripping the pelvic floor muscles. So the muscles is always very tense. Like, how else do we know if other than the C-section would be pain? One of the main symptoms would be like, instead of pressure, would be more pain. Pain when you have sex, or unable to start the flow of your urine. It's harder, like you have to concentrate or focus in order to start the flow of urine. Maybe you have to count, maybe you have to inhale, you have to do something. You have to wait there in the toilet. And then after you finish the pee, you have the feeling of that you're unable to empty it completely. So like you feel like there's still something there, but you can't go anymore. So you leave and you go sit down, then you feel like you need to go again, and then you go back to the bathroom and you go again. And then that cycle continues. So that unable to empty type of feeling, some pain or some tightness down there, right? So pain maybe by like how you feel, like maybe there is like pain in the like cramps, like when like a period cramps, like right here. And then so the example I gave you for the loose pelvic floor with the tampon, with this one it's harder, right? You feel a discomfort inserting a tampon. Like you feel that there's some maybe like friction type of sensation when you're trying to put it in, like it's not that comfortable. So you see that they are very different, right? And so why do you think you need to do the same exercises to treat this leaking issue? And if you have leaking, you have diastasis recti, you have to target those completely different. What do we need to do? When we try to heal diastasis, whether you have 4 fingers, 3 fingers, whether you're 1 month postpartum, 2, 3, 4, 5 years postpartum, the process is the same. A lot of people ask me, oh, am I too late to heal? Never too late. Why do you think it's too late? The muscle is still there. You're still there. Your whole person is still there. Your muscle, everything, right? The longer you wait, yeah, the more stubborn the muscles are going to be, because you have been that way for 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, the whole decade like that. The muscle is just sitting there waiting for you to be used. But in the beginning, let's say the first year postpartum, the muscles are more malleable, meaning it probably wants to listen to you more because it's softer. Everything is kind of like very mellow. You just have birth. The hormone is still in effect, especially if you're still breastfeeding. So it makes your muscles still kind of more relaxed. So you're still it's easier for you to like wake up. But when you are like later in the postpartum, years into postpartum, the muscles are stiffer now. Like it's been like that for so long. It also will take time. But then once you take time for it to like plant the seed and water, right? I'm just using an analogy here. It will be staying intact a lot more firm and wouldn't really how do I say in a way? Like if you're later into postpartum, once you heal it, it will stay much more intact. Like you wouldn't be able to think that it will like easily like stretch, or the muscle is going to be stretched too much again. But if you're newer postpartum and you fix the diastasis and you fix this, but let's say because your muscle, right, is still very malleable. If you're still breastfeeding and all of that, it might not completely heal just yet. Let's just say, for example, my client had a 4 fingers, 2 knuckle depth, 6 months postpartum, right? We're working on healing it. It does take time for it to really completely close. And when I say completely close, it's about 1 finger, 1.5 finger, about a nail deep. So it does take time for it to heal because the muscles are just so relaxed. It's very malleable, like it's very relaxed. So it takes time to heal. It might take longer than somebody who are later into postpartum because maybe if they're still breastfeeding, so there's still room for it to improve. But perhaps they still wanted to breastfeed until the baby is 1.5 years and they were only 6 months postpartum. She was only 6 months postpartum. So I'm telling her, even, we're at 2.5 fingers gap right now. There's still more room for you to improve. Once perhaps you're done breastfeeding, you will see that changes even more. Versus somebody who are 5 years postpartum, of course, they're not breastfeeding anymore. It takes time to wake up the muscle, to have the muscles to you have to unwind that habit and then fix that. But once it's fixed, it's there, right? There's not much changes going on in your body versus somebody who are new. So kind of off topic there, but give me a thumb up if you understand and what I'm trying to say here, or like if it's like too all over the way for you. So what I'm trying to say here is if you have a tight and loose pelvic floor, the strategy has to be different. So it doesn't matter whether you're a month or year postpartum. Now, how do we do this? So with the loose pelvic floor, that's where you will hear this very often from physio, doctor, even throughout your pregnancy, you probably hear about this, is to do Kegel exercise, Kegel, right? So the cueing I would give you, it would be like, how do you do a Kegel properly, would be thinking about lifting a blueberries up with your ladies' parts. So thinking, it's actually better if you will do it on a bouncy ball because you can feel that feeling. Let me see if I have something around me. Not really. Give me a second. So pretend this is too soft, but I'm sitting on something, a chair or something. Now, if I tell you to, some people, they're like, oh, I don't know how to do a Kegel exercise. How do you do it? Like, you might think you know how to do it, but I'm telling you, I'll show you what I would do if you were my client. So with the Kegel exercise, I need you to think about 2 things: your pee area and your poo area. They're 2 different holes, right? So if you lean a bit forward, that's where your pee is. Can you lift? Can you lift off from the chair you're sitting? Can you lift? Just the lifting motion. Gently, do you have to use a lot of focus, mind to muscles connection to lift away from the chair? Lift right here, I'm talking about right here. Lift. Okay, if you can do that very easily, I think you're good, right? But if you have to if you have to really think what you're doing, it's fine. Sometimes it does take a moment to really click. But I also want you to understand, are you drawing in both together? Do you think you're separating the pee and poo? Like, are you separating them or are you drawing both together? We don't want that because I want you to isolate the 2 areas, right? We're talking about the pee. Okay, now lean back a bit so that you're in that position and you can feel that your butt is touching your sit bone is touching the cushion or chair or bouncy ball, better. And then you lift the back, right? Now, can you feel that sensation? So do you have to use the same kind of focus to lift? I'm just talking about the lifting away the ball. Lift. Okay, if you can lift, perfect. But the next thing is, can you let go? Can you let go? So still sit the same position. You're lifting from the back, like the poo area. the rectum, okay, the proper term. When you're a mom, you're wiping butts and that's what you say, right? So can you lift? You lift? Good. Can you let go now? Let go. Like if I'm telling you to let go completely. Are you able to? Or do you feel like you're still holding on to tension? When I say let go, you should just be like, let go. Like you shouldn't be holding any tension. There's no tightness. It's very loose. It's jiggly, right? It should be, right? Same thing to the front, P area. Lift, let go. Lift, let go. Lift, let go. So this will tell me also, so this is a great thing here, because if you can lift easily, but you're not able to let go easily, that means that there's some tightness, which I agree, because that you're not able to fully relax, fully empty. That's exactly the same scenario when you go to the bathroom. Why are you not able to empty? Why do you still feeling like you cannot empty completely? Because you cannot let go fully. The other scenario, the Kegel scenario, you have to have really concentration and focus on lifting the front and the back, or you're not able to isolate. It's hard for you to isolate, right? It's hard for you to lift. That is showing signs to me that, it could be looser because it's harder for you to feel, and just require a lot of concentration. Or maybe you are not able to. Some of my clients, they can't even do it in the beginning. They cannot feel anything. So that's where you need to practice. So that's a Kegel. The lifting part that a lot of YouTube online or whatever provider they teach you, that's the Kegel, lifting. The sensation of lifting, can you feel? So another way of doing it would be stopping the midstream of your urine. Next time you go to the bathroom, you sit there, can you just stop in like 2-3 seconds after you pee? If you can stop, that means you have good control there. You can control it, right? Or passing gas. Can you stop passing gas? So you have control in the back. Make sense? So that would be a good indicator. So that's why if you cannot draw in and lift, you have a trouble of drawing in and lifting, you need to start there first. But if you are too tight, you have trouble of letting go, what's the point of you doing more Kegel? You can't, because you're already tight. You're already in this position. You were tight, right? You like I say, the baby never went through the birth canal. You're already tight, right? A normal tone would be open, close, right? Open, relax, close, tighten. Open, relax, close, tighten. But if you have a tight pelvic floor, your tone is always here already. You cannot fully relax when you wanted to, perhaps maybe up to this, but you can't always fully relax. So what's the point of you doing more Kegel? No point. You can't. It will make it tighter. Does that make sense? So what you need to do here is not to do more of these. Is to relax and breathe 360. If you're on my channel, you probably heard of this term many, many, many times from me. Breathe 360. But allowing the breath to go into your pelvic floor. Don't be afraid because I'm leaking. I'm afraid of leaking more. But that's exactly the same thing. You have that fear holding you back. And so you have to let go of that fear. You have to let go of that tension. Breathing more into the bottom, down there to let go, right? So one of the best things is just lying down on the floor and think about breathing in 360. Right? When we breathing 360, the side of your ribs, the chest, the belly, and your pelvic floor needs to completely let go on the inhale. And then on the exhale, you don't do anything. You would, instead of doing a Kegel where people would do 50 to 80% of the maximum contraction, you don't do anything because it's already here, right? I want you to go here to work on this instead of working on this. Okay, so I hope you're understanding that. And so once you understand tight or loose pelvic floor, that's where you can add on the exercises in terms of core component side of things. So perhaps starting with, depending on how well you're able to engage and draw in the entire belly. And that's the thing. So even if you have 1 to 2 fingers diastasis recti gap, but if you have a tight pelvic floor, it's always shut tight. So a lot of pressures are down there, protruding, making the lower belly bulge. So it doesn't matter whether you have 1 or 2 or 3 fingers. You need to figure that out first. But of course, we need to know the starting point of the diastasis recti. So make sure you do a self-check to make sure that you know the depth and the gap of the upper, so above the belly button diastasis recti, at the belly button, and below the belly button. You need to notice your starting point, and then you would look at yourself. Okay, how well can you draw in? So when I say drawing in, so using that example earlier, right? So using that example earlier where can you draw in lifting a marble up or lifting a blueberry up with your ladies part, right? So if you're inhale through the ribs to your back, right, into your belly, relaxing your pelvic floor one more time. Inhale. Okay, let me just put my hand here. Inhale. Okay, exhale. So now you're lifting the blueberry up, engage your core, lifting in more, draw in, and you should be feeling tightness, right? Then that means you are able to brace for a lot of the exercises, a lot of the HIIT workout, weightlifting workouts, right? If I'm using a weight, right? If I'm using a weight here, make sure you're keeping your ribs down, right? We don't want to work on it like that, right? You're arching your back. You're thrusting your ribs. We wanted to keep the ribs down, right? Keep our posture correct when you lift weight. You can lift weight. There's no problem of lifting weight. There's 2 questions for me, very similar questions. When I have diastasis recti, can I walk on treadmill? When I have diastasis recti, can I do walking? I mean, we all do walking. Why would walking worsen diastasis recti? It's not going to, unless you're walking it with such a poor posture, right? You're walking with arching your back, or like I say, you're gripping your bum, right? You're walking, gripping your bum, slouching your shoulder, your head forward, like really terrible posture. Then it's the body alignment issue. That is pushing the stomach out, and that's what can cause it to look worse. But it's not necessarily going to make it worse. What makes it worse is pregnancy. We are blessed with baby, nothing wrong with that. But pregnancy is what it causes to go back What pregnancy is what causes it to split in the first place, like to stretch the muscles. Another thing would be pushing yourself to do things that you cannot handle. That's my case. I didn't know I had diastasis recti after my first pregnancy. And so that was 8-9 years ago now. And never heard that term before, never ever. So I thought that, it was just belly fat. Like I just had a lot of belly fat. Like I gained about 20-25 pounds. And I thought, okay, if I were just to do some workout, I would just lose that belly. And so I picked an at-home program. I wanted to do something quick, fun, like HIIT workout. I picked a HIIT workout with very little equipment because I didn't have anything. I was not a gym goer. I never went to a gym, never worked out. And so my husband was like, why don't you try this workout, right? HIIT workout, very easy to do. You can do it in the basement after the baby go to sleep. But HIIT workout, right? They are not easy. You jump up and down, you do squat, you do lunges, and next thing you know, you're doing plank on the floor. Next thing you know, you're doing crunches. And then you're doing like Russian, Bulgarian twists and stuff like that. It was really difficult for my core. And my core was making shape. And when I'm talking shape, it's like coning shape. You know coning, right? So like it's the midline that is like pushing out, like more like a triangle shape that I would say, or like a ridge, like this whole thing would point upward. So that's coning. I see that, but I was ignorant. And I'm thinking back, like, why was I so stupid? Like thinking that it's okay to do stuff like that. So I was pushing myself so hard to a point, like, you looked at my belly now, it's like irreversible. I had so much loose skin, so much stretched tissue. I pushed myself too hard. I knew I made everything worse because I did that for 3 months. And then I'm like, still this belly is not going away. What's going on? Then I'm like light bulb moment at that time. Like, okay, I think I need to see a doctor about this. It's just not weight loss problem here. but it was a little bit too late. Then I was pregnant again. Yeah, so that is what's gonna make the diastasis worse. Not walking, not on the treadmill, not like lifting weights or nothing like that. So don't worry about those kind of things. It's what if you're pushing yourself so hard to a point that your body cannot even handle it, but you're still doing it. Like in my case, like every day I did it every day. 1 time, 2 times is not gonna hurt you, right? But if you keep doing it, that's what happened. So that's what made it worse. Okay, so that's the loose and tight pelvic floor. Thank you, totally makes sense. Awesome, thumbs up, thumbs up, thumbs up. Thank you so much. Okay, next thing I wanted to talk about is bloating. And the last thing I wanted to touch point on is the dry brushing, okay? Drop me any questions if you have anything. Oh, actually, before I do that, there's another question. It's a good question. Have you ever not been able to help someone heal their diastasis recti? In my program, I guess she's saying. So because I work with clients one-on-one, and I create a program, I personalize their workout routine and nutrition and accountability. So yeah, I mean, I've been doing this since 2019, 2020, since then. So it's been 5-6 years now. Time flies. Yeah, of course, there are people I'm not able to help. Now, there are a few type of groups of people why I'm not able to help. The first group of people are people who are just not doing the work, right? They, in order for you to see result, it's not just doing things once a week. It's not just doing things twice a week. You have to, so the kind of requirement, if you're wondering how, like, what am I making my clients to do, is to do 20 to 35 minutes workout a day, 5 times a week at home. So that's kind of that expectation I would get from you. Like if you were to do 1 or 2 times, it's not gonna help, right? That's why people are like, oh, I'm not consistent. Maybe that's why, yeah, you're not consistent. That is the reason why you're not seeing result. So that's the first group, right? People who are not consistent. Second group would be people with hernia, umbilical hernia. So people with umbilical hernia, some people are symptomatic, and some people are asymptomatic, right? Symptomatic would be people that have pain in the belly button. Belly button is an outie. You can see the belly button poking out, right? You can see it come out. And so with that, I cannot heal the hernia. The gap will never close because the hernia is right there. It cannot close. Only surgery can fix the hernia. You cannot close that area. It's already broken. It's already a hole. So that type of moms, I'm not able to help them to heal. But can I help them to get stronger, to strengthen the core, to protect the hernia from getting worse? Absolutely, right? But it's not gonna be like, oh, I'm gonna have a flat tummy, because it's harder, much harder when they have a hernia. And so, and for like those are symptomatic. So for asymptomatic are people who, they don't feel it, they don't even know it. So some client actually came to me, I told them, I think you have a hernia. And then they went to check, oh yeah, they actually do. So, but that's the thing though, because they don't feel anything. They don't feel any sensation, no pain, no nothing. They don't really even see it coming out or in, so they don't really know. But because there is a hernia, so that's why the gap is a lot harder to close, and maybe the tummy just doesn't really want it to flatten too much. So that's another type of group that are just, I'm not able to help them heal. Other than that, I would say there would be a third group. A third group would be genetics. Genetics plays a huge role in our body. And I work with, I'm very blessed. Like I work with all type of moms in different background, different part of the world. So I'm Asian, but a lot of my clients are very mixed. White, Asian, Indian background, Black moms, European moms. And the people I see that has the most stretched out tissues, the Indians moms, they are very prone to having that issue with diastasis recti, as well as Black mom. With the Indian mamas that I help, a lot of the time it's the cultural thing as well, the lifestyle, the way they eat. the way they perhaps move their body. I do notice a lot of them, they walk duck feet, right? Instead of the knees are pointing forward, a lot of them walk like that. And because of the body alignment, that takes time for them to have to like the on the hip bones, like to really get them into that right alignment. A diastasis recti, I think, is not just a core thing. Your whole body has to be in alignment in order for you to work optimally and efficiently, right? We all want to see results quickly. So, but my program is about 4 months, right? You can stay longer, you can be a little bit shorter, but like around 4 months mark anyways. It's harder for us to correct somebody who has been walking like that forever in their life, especially with the posture thing, body alignment thing. So that will still take time. And so that's why that, like the way you brought up your lifestyle, and genetics, as in like some people, they just carry their weight all in the front. So like with the type of the black moms and Indian moms I talked about, like when you see them from behind, you would never know they were pregnant. That type of belly, it's all in the front. So that's really stretching out their muscles. That's why yesterday I talked to a mom that has a whole finger depth. Like if you put the finger into this way, like going in, a whole finger can get in. A whole finger. It's really deep. Mine was about half a finger. Still quite deep, right? You don't want to be like that. There's no strength. You should be just about nail depth. And so that will take time to heal. So it's not, I don't have magic here. You need time, you need consistency, you need to work out, like I say, 20 to 35 minutes, 5 times a week. You need to do that. And you cannot just do that for 1 week. And not only that, nutrition. And so for Indians mamas, another type would be Latino mamas, the nutrition, because they're so focused, they're so into gluten and like bread, carbs type of food that really makes them bloat very easily, and vegetarian moms as well. Vegan moms as well, their choices are quite limited, so they're not getting enough protein. When they don't get enough protein, they're not putting muscles in their body, right? We need muscles. Our core needs muscles. Our core needs collagen, right? Protein makes collagen. But if you're not getting enough protein from your diet, from your nutrition, so a lot of the Indian moms are vegetarian. So I need to encourage them to take in more protein, right? Whether it is using a protein shake or really look into their food and see how much protein they're getting, right? I bet that if you're counting, you're probably getting just 30 grams. 40 grams, maybe less sometimes, right? Depending on what you're eating. But for us, we all weigh differently, but you should be aiming at around 100 grams of protein. Which is, when I say it, like sometimes like, wow, 100 grams is a lot. In the beginning, I felt that's how I felt like when I did my own nutritions. But it's actually quite easy. If you think about it, it's just 30, 30, 30 for your breakfast, lunch, and dinner. I have some, I just made some like breakfast reel on my Instagram. If you check out my Instagram, you will see it there, BeckyChoi_. You will see some of my breakfast recipes. Like easily, I could get 30. But that's because I'm not vegetarian, right? So for vegetarian moms, it's hard. And that's where you have to be very focused on your nutrition. Okay. I think... yes, I was going through that question. Have you ever not been able to help with someone with the app? Because I wanted to be conscious with the time here. 12:11 already. Okay. So, 2 more things I wanted to talk about. I think maybe it will just take me another 10 minutes. So thank you so much for those who are staying. Say hi to me. Okay. I'm consistent in about how long does it take to heal. I understand the timing is different for everyone. The timing, if you're consistent, 4 months, 4 or 5 months, depending on what your starting point is, right? If you have like 2-3 fingers gap, which is a lot of the time, a lot of moms I help about like 3 finger-ish and maybe 1.5 knuckle depth, quite common. I would say 4 months, also depending on how much weight you need to lose, right? If your goal is to like, I want to just heal the diastasis and not care about the weight, sure, maybe 3-4 months. But at the end of the day, I know most of us don't want to look pregnant anymore, so the weight will be an issue, meaning you need to work on your nutrition to lose the weight. So hopefully that makes sense there. Yes, bloating. Now, bloating, I do have a nutrition video on my YouTube channel, so I don't want to talk about too much on the nutrition side of things. But one thing I do notice, and have you had that feeling after you had sex or intercourse, right? Your belly the next day looks so bloated, like it's so much bigger. So that's because you might have a retroverted or a tilted uterus. Okay, so sit in for a moment for that. Why? And so what does it have to do with bloating or like it's stomach distensions? So what happens is that when you have intercourse, when you're in action, those organs, they're bouncing around. It's not like they are bouncing like everywhere. There's still sheets of muscles holding everything in place, but because the muscle is so big, because the belly and the abdomen has so much room, because it is bigger, right? So there's a lot more space for the organs to bounce around. That will create bubbles. And when you have a tilted uterus, it doesn't help. So that's why the next day after action, you look more pregnant. You look more bloated. So that is something I want you to pay attention and be aware. Like, how do you know if you have a tilted uterus or not? I guess, I don't know, maybe ultrasound, but it's something that I just want you to like, don't blame on yourself too much. Like, oh, this is so weird. Like, how come I look so big all of a sudden? But maybe think about what you ate, think about what you did last night. And so that will give you some clues, just more body awareness on what's going on. So it doesn't always necessarily mean, oh, my diastasis recti got worse, or like, oh, no, I didn't do my workout, this sucks. I just want you to just have some body mindfulness. Because it happens to a lot of moms. That's where it's a U shape. The uterus is a U shape, so if it's tilted, then it's not like the cervix is pointing more toward the belly. So, and why it changed? Because of pregnancy and postpartum. Your baby was in the uterus and it passed through, so that shape might have changed. And so that's why when you leave the hospital and your belly is still big, and why is it still so big? Because the uterus hasn't shrunk back. And for some people, it takes a while to shrink back, and for some people, it tilted into different positions. And so, so when you have intercourse, and that everywhere around it kind of bounce around, and it creates bubbles, and that doesn't help with the way you look. Okay. Last thing would be dry brushing. Yes, dry brushing. I posted a reel. It was like within like 2 hours. I think I got like 200 comments. Yeah, it was. I guess you guys are very interested in how this works, dry brushing, and what this is. So I got this on Amazon, like $6, $7, $8 maybe. Like it's like that. The material is like this. It's not silky soft, no, but it's not like it's super hard. So what you do here, and what are we talking about, is dry brushing your loose skin and stretch marks. So I had really, really bad loose skin and stretch marks even after my first, but it was just horrible after my second. And when you lose more weight, that loose skin, it becomes more obvious. Maybe some of you experience that. And so, because I lost 35 pounds so I lost a lot of weight. And so that's why I'm like, I needed to do something. So I discovered about dry brushing. So what you do is you need to have oil. And a lot of people ask me, what kind of oil do you need? I mean, any oil is fine, but maybe it would be better if you use something that is more like stretch marks type of oil. So I use bio oil. You can use coconut oil. It doesn't really matter much because I just need it to glide. And so what I do is here, is that I'll show you more close up in just a second, but I don't do it now anymore, but because I'm doing some sorry, almost it's slippery. So I'm not doing this anymore, but because I'm doing micro needling at the clinic. You can just see this stretch marks of mine. Yeah, anyways. So what I do is that I use the brush, right? I'm brushing it away. You see the skin fold, right? So it's a lot better now because I did the micro needling, but you can still see these tips. All right, but the worst is here, and then I have a lot here. If I go like that, you will definitely see it. So what I do is that I will brush upward so that the skin is going up. And then this way I will go sideways. So you see this? So I go like that. So I would do like 1 to 2 minutes. I wouldn't do more, just because you could be quite sensitive when you're brushing your skin, dry brushing your skin. So it can get sensitive and like get red. So you don't want that, right? So just do 1 to 2 minutes. I just kind of do it maybe like when I'm watching the news. I'm just standing there, then I brush it, massage it, bring it up, bring it to the side, and then the bottom here, I just kind of bring it down because I want it to tuck into the pants. I bring it down. So then I brush it like that. Yeah. Now, one thing, because we were talking about bloating, so I'm done with that. That's exactly how you do it. When you take it with collagen, it will help to stimulate and regenerate the muscles better. I took it with collagen, did the oil, dry brushing every 2 days for 6 months, okay? This is not a short period, 6 months. But I definitely saw really good result. You see, I think I definitely made a video on my YouTube channel. You can see the before and after. Now, last thing I wanted to show here is the lymphatic drainage self-massage. Our intestine, our colon is this way, on your left side. And so I want to help it to move. The intestine is right here, right? I want it to help to move to reduce bloating so that it goes down. So I'm lifting, right? I'm doing this motion. I'm lifting, doing like a, I love you, right? When you have baby, you want them to go poop, right? You do a I love you. It's very similar here. You push it down. So this will help you to feel less bloated. And if you have constipations, or like you're just feeling the stomach is, bloated usually. That's what I would do. Then it will help you to be less puffy. There's lots of benefits with massaging and dry brushing anyway. So you can do as often as you want to. Since I have lots of oil here, I'm going to do it. So that's what I would do to help reduce bloating. Right, beside food. Right, of course, you don't want it to eat food that causes a lot of bloating, has a lot of trigger, that is inflammation for your body. But there are other things that you can do that are non-food related, would be massage, dry brushing. Right, so scoop this over, bring it up, bring it toward the colon, push it down. So what I would recommend doing is that, right, I'm just showing you here, but I'm not gonna do it like that. What I would do is actually put a hot pack. The hot pack that you might use it for your period, when you have your period cramps, that type of hot pack. Heating your belly up first, so it's warm inside. And then you do that would be a lot more effective to reduce bloating. So that is to reduce bloating, improve circulations, right? Increase your metabolism, your intestine, everything is right behind that. So if you wanted to move, if you wanted to get rid of that belly, right? It's not just about the muscles. You have to take care of your organs inside. Okay, if you are watching this replay, you can continue to drop me questions. I would love to reply back to you, whether maybe make a video about it, or sometimes I actually do. Or just DM me on my Instagram at BeckyChoi_. I'm quite active there. I will chat with you. If you are interested in maybe perhaps joining my program or learn more about what I do, how I help my client, my Instagram is a good page, or you can go on www.tummywarrior.com. That's where you'll find more info about my program, about structure, exercises, nutrition, and accountability. Okay, awesome. Thank you so much. I'll talk to you later.